back to the GSMC Baseball Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. I'm your host, Sam Menzie, and we have a great show for you today. First topic we'll be going over is the blockbuster trade of Luis Arraez to the Padres. After that, we'll be going into the Dodgers and their sweep of the Braves and what it means for baseball. Then we'll be talking about a Guardians roster shakeup, calling up top prospect Callum Manzardo and sending top hitter Stephen Kwan to the injured list. And finally, we'll be going over some injury news around the league, some stuff that happened over the weekend and on Friday as well that I didn't get a chance to talk about. Now, before we do that, though, I would like to ask you to please like and follow the show. We do get a number of questions from viewers, so to ensure that your question does get read in the air, please use the link gsmcpodcast.net. It really does help the show, and it really does mean a lot, so thank you so much for that. And let's get into the show today. All right, as I talked about, the first topic we're going to be discussing, of course, is going to be Luis Arraez of the Padres. Now, this is a rather shocking trade, I would say. It did happen later on Friday, and not only, it wasn't really shocking in the way that, the Marlins traded Luis Arraez or that the Padres traded for him. We had known that the Padres had interest for a little while, but it was more the fact that it happened on May 3rd. And a trade in baseball happening at that date, that early, that significant amount of time before the trade deadline is honestly fascinating and something that does not happen really ever in baseball. So that's what I was really just shocked about. I mean, Arraez isn't some bench warmer player. He's a very good player, a guy that did win the batting title last year. I'm not the biggest into batting average and that kind of thing, but at the same time, that's still a major accomplishment. It still shows he's a great player in this league, and I think he is. I think Arraez is a pretty significant player in this league. I think he's really good, and him getting traded kind of out of nowhere on May 3rd is just something that I don't really ever remember happening. There might have been a situation resembling that or closer to it, but I just don't remember. So I think the first thing we have to ask is the impact on the Padres for this. How much, what is the overall impact, and how much better does it make this Padres team? Now, I think makes them a lot better. I do. I think that adding Arraez to this lineup is really a really perfect fit. You look at this team, and they have a lot of power. You look at guys like Fernando Tatis Jr., Jay Cronenworth, Xander Bogaerts, Fernando Tatis, Jackson Merrill even, you could say. With Arraez, you now get a premier contact bat in this league, a guy who gets on base a lot, who can just hit the ball well. And I think him being your leadoff man is honestly a perfect fit. I think one thing the Padres have not had for a little while now is a true leadoff man. You had Jurickson Profar leading off this year, and while he's been pretty good actually, so I'll be fair to him, he's not really a guy you want setting the table, quote unquote. Jurickson Profar is not the guy that you want to say, okay, you know what? You're how we're going to set this game up. You're going to be the guy that we first see at the plate. I don't really think that they wanted that. So now you get Arraez, and you get one of the premier lefty contact bats in this league, one of the premier on-base men in this league, and you get him in there, and just adds a spark to your lineup already. I mean, you saw in his first game with the Padres, he went 4 for 4. Just, I think it just shows how good of a player Arraez is, and it's a really significant trade for the Padres. I mean, we're used to significant Padres. We're used to significant trades about the Padres at this point. I mean, we've seen so many over the years, just the ones I can think off the top of my head. I mean, Dylan Cease, Mike Clevenger, Juan Soto, of course, Josh Hader. Like, there's so many others that I'm probably forgetting just in the A.J. Preller era going back further. I mean, that whole offseason where they traded for Craig Kimbrell, Justin Upton, all those players in that offseason. So it's nothing new to see the Padres make such a significant trade like this. But, again, seeing this go down on May 3rd, there was no real warning or nothing. Like, the Marlins think it's over and they're going to shop Arraez immediately. No, it was just Arraez got traded out of nowhere and Passan tweeted it. There was no, Craig Mish, who's a great guy with the Marlins, he didn't say anything. None of the Padres guys said anything like look out for something or anything. No, he just got traded, which was really insane and just really unprecedented. As I said, I don't remember something happening like this. It's possible that something did, but I just don't remember that something exactly happening like this, situation like this, where a player gets traded at this date. I think the last one I can really remember maybe is Edwin Encarnacion, which is obviously a lot less than Luis Arraez. He got traded from the Mariners to the Yankees at a different point, a little earlier in the season. I do remember that, but still, trading Arraez, a guy who is a great player in this league, a guy who just won a batting title, was becoming one of the faces of that Miami franchise in May out of nowhere is just insane. So, yeah, just a really interesting situation and scenario, and just something I did not foresee happening or talking about today. So, yeah, that was very interesting on Friday, and again, just something I did not see coming. So again, I think it makes them a lot better. I think with the Padres lineup now, there really are no weak spots. You look at the catcher, you have Luis Campusano, really good player. Jay Cronenworth, really good player. Ha-Seong Kim, really good player. Xander Bogaerts, a really good player. Not so far this year, but still going to be a really good player. Manny Machado, really great player. Jackson Merrill, going to be a really great player. Jerickson Profar has been really good this year. Fernando Tatis Jr., come on. And Luis Arraez, we know. So, I mean, this Padres lineup is really deadly. There's a lot of people that can hurt you in this team. So I think the Arraez trade really does help them a lot. I think it makes the team significantly better. And I do think that it helps their chances a lot this year. I think one of the things we were wondering going into the season was, okay, you guys just traded Juan Soto, and because of that, are you going to compete, or are you going to kind of have let's retool your quote unquote? You're not going to have a full rebuild because you have Tatis still, you have Manny Machado, Cronenworth, Kim, Joe Musgrove, Yu Darvish. So you're not going to go into a full rebuild, but it's possible to go into a retool where, okay, you're not trying to go full in this season, try to reset your cap, see what young players can do and all that. But then they traded for Dylan Cease. We're like, okay, that's probably not true. And then they trade for Arraez out of nowhere, and we're like, okay, it's the Padres. They don't retool. They don't retool. I mean, I don't know what Preller does. I mean, he runs his team like an MLB The Show team. It's really incredible. So, but I think this trade makes them a lot better. I do think it puts them above some teams right now. I think still they're the third best team in the NL West. I don't think I have them above the Diamondbacks. Diamondbacks have been struggling, but I still like them a lot. But I think maybe a team like the Mets, it does put them over, who just got swept by the Rays and have lost let's see, they've won 2 before, so 2 out of 4, they lost 3. So yeah, they are 2-5 in their last 7. So I think that it puts them above the Mets team that I did have them above. If you want to check where I had the Padres, just look at my power rankings I did on Friday, the NL part. So I think that it makes them a lot better. It was a shocking trade, but overall, I do like the trade for the Padres. I think the return they gave up, I think they gave up some good players, but I think for a player like Arraez, who I really like, I'm noticing now a lot of people think he's a little overrated. But personally, I like him a lot. I think he's a really good player. So I wouldn't necessarily agree with that. I see why people think he's overrated, but I do think he's a really great player. I think his contact skills are some of the best in the league. Sorry about that. I think his contact skills are some of the best in the league. I think just bat to ball, pure hitter-wise, I don't know if there's anyone better. So, yeah, I love the trade for the Padres. I think they're getting a really great player, and I think the return was fine. I don't think the Padres gave up anyone, insane. I think the main piece here is Dylan Head, who I'm going to talk about when I go to the Marlins portion of this segment. So I think for getting Arraez, I think the trade was pretty fair. I don't think anyone was so insane that you gave them up and it's like, oh my God, why did the Padres do that? I think if they gave up someone like Ethan Salas, we'd probably be thinking that, but obviously they didn't. So overall, I think it was a good trade by the Padres. Great job getting Arraez in there. Already off to a great start with them. Went 4 for 4. So, yeah. Now going to the Marlins portion of it, I'm surprised and I'm not surprised. Now I think we all know what I'm talking about here. I'm surprised because again I didn't think they'd be trading anyone on May 3rd, a significant trade where they're getting a prospect package that is going to significantly help their future. I didn't think that would happen. I didn't think they would blow it up this early. I did think they would blow it up. I think most of the players on this team are going to be gone by the trade deadline, but at the same time, I didn't think it would happen this early, and I didn't think they would make this determination this early. I mean, you look at the Marlins last year. I mean, they made the playoffs, and now a short year after that, you're blowing the team up and trading one of your better players. I mean, it's kind of insane. I mean, what a fall for the Marlins. It finally looked like things were going in the right direction for that franchise. Finally looked like, okay, you know what? There's some kind of future here for the Marlins, and then everything just falls apart. So I think the question you now ask with the Marlins is, who's next? And I think more the question is, who's not next? I think You're going to look at guys like Jesus Luzardo. I think if he gets off the injured list and starts pitching good, he's gone. Tanner Scott's going to be gone. He's a really good closer, and I think he'd get a good amount of package back for someone, especially being a lefty. Jake Berger, who you just acquired last year, I think he's gone. I think Jazz Chisholm. I think maybe even a guy like Brian De La Cruz is gone. I think Chisholm's going to be the big guy. He hasn't really performed as well the past few years, but he's a name, and he's really good. I still do think he's really good, even though he's been underperforming a little bit. I think he brings a valuable asset to any team. So I think when you look at this Marlins team right now, you have to think, who's gone and when are they gone? Because if the Marlins are doing this trade at this early of time, we don't know when anyone else could get traded. Again, the thing that surprises me with the Arraez trade is, again, not how he got not how he got traded, not who he got traded, not the prospect package. It's just when he got traded. And if I was the Marlins, I would have shopped him more. I would have made it clear to teams that, we're listening to offers on this guy. We have all the leverage. We don't have to trade him now. So give us your best offer. We'll go from there, and kind of getting a bidding war. I do think they could have gotten a little bit of a better package than what they got. So I think that was a little bit of a miss there. But at the same time, Marlins GM Peter Bendix, who I really like actually, but obviously has fallen on unfortunate circumstances now with his team. He said, we felt this package from the Padres too good to pass up, and that's why we did it now. So obviously the Padres feel a different kind of way about the prospects they're getting than me. I would say they definitely know more about the prospects than me, so I'm not going to really discredit their knowledge there. Just from an outsider's perspective, it does look a little thin. I still like the players they got. I want to make that clear. I still like the players they got, but I think they could have gotten a little more, and that's just mainly what I'm mainly talking about here. So, yeah, again, just going back to the guys I think could be traded. You have to ask who's next at this point. You have to ask, who isn't going to get traded for the Marlins, and it's going to be interesting to watch. It's going to be something to just see over the coming months and weeks, that who do the Marlins trade now, who do they get rid of, who's on the block, and we'll have to see. So, yeah, I'll definitely be watching, and I'll be seeing what happens. So, yeah, I think you look at them again. I think all the guys I really did name for the Marlins are going to be gone soon, and I think that's something to watch. So now we have to ask, well, who do the Marlins get back for this really good player in Luis Arraez? So I think the main piece that everyone is acknowledging is Dylan Head. Now, Dylan Head is a 19-year-old outfielder, was drafted in the first round in 2023 by the Padres. His ETA is 2027. He's 6 foot 185, really skinny guy, nice lefty swing, hits the ball really well, more of a contact guy than power guy, but is still young, can fill out in his body and adults and power. He has an 80 running on the 2080 scale, so basically his running is perfect. So he's got a lot of speed, more, like I said, a speed contact field guy. I think he's going to be a really good player in this league. He's only 19. He hasn't hit the greatest at single A, but again, only 19, so a lot of ways to develop. So I think Head is the main guy the Marlins got back here, and I think he is going to be a really good player in the future, and I do like what they got back for him. After that, you have, you're going to have next Jacob Marcy from the Padres, who is a Double-A outfielder who could come up by the end of this year as well, so I think that was a nice get for them. Hasn't hit great in Double-A with the Padres, but maybe a change of scenery would do well for him. I think he's a good hitting outfielder, a guy who's going to be a plus hitter at the next level, so I think that's good. Nathan Martello is another guy that the Padres got, another guy who could be up at the end of this year or towards the start of next year. Big lefty bat, 6 foot 224, has a good amount of power, can field okay, is mainly a first corner outfielder guy. I like him a lot, has a lot of good hitting tools in the minor league so far. So, again, I like what the Marlins got back. I think the package is good. I just think they could have gotten a little more, and I think that's overall the little problem I have. But, again, if the Marlins like it, they know more about the prospects than me. They know what their internal projections are for these guys. So, good for them. And, yeah, I'll be watching these guys in their development, and I'll be watching Arraez in the future with the Padres. But good trade. I think it makes them a little better than some other teams in the National League. And Padres, man, do they keep making trades. So that was the end of our first segment here, talking about Luis Arraez to the Padres and just the trade we're going to our second segment, which is going to be talking about the Dodgers and their sweep of the Braves and just my overall thoughts on it. So yeah, we'll be going into that, and we'll see you after the break. So thanks, and bye.
I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign.
I wanna be the greatest. Everybody on the fake shit. I look around and feel like everybody is the fakest. I make this every day and I'm impatient, hoping one day I blow up from the basement. Statement, the top is so vacant. I don't hear shit that I think is amazing. Waiting for my day when I'm playing sold out shows for 1,000 faces. Hey, give me that crown, get in my way and to be put down. It ain't your place, all this my town. If I want that shit, then I'll get it right now. I'm losing it, the noose it fits, I'm losing shit. A stupid myth, you choose to live or choose to dip. You choose to fight or lose your grip and lose a gift.
I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind?
And we're back here on the GSMC Baseball Podcast, bringing you our second segment, which is going to talk about the Dodgers and their sweep over the Braves. Now, before that, though, I would like to ask you again to please like and follow the show. We do get a number of questions from viewers, so to ensure that your question does get run in the air, please use the link, gsmcpodcast.net. It really does help the show, and it really does mean a lot, so thank you so much for that. And let's get back into the show today. All right, so over the weekend, mine's still in the last segment apparently. The Dodgers swept the Braves, and it's a pretty big deal. I mean, these are the two teams that I talked about on Friday that I think are the two premier teams of the National League. I don't think really anybody is going to say anything different from that. These are the two teams that consistently over the last few years have been the cream of the crop in the regular season for the National League, have set records with winning, have hit a lot of home runs, been really great teams. So whenever these two teams do play, it is a spectacle and it is something to watch. So seeing the Braves get swept was honestly a shocker. I did have the Braves above the Dodgers in my power rankings on Friday. Would I change that now knowing what I know? I probably would, because, the Braves didn't even win a game. I understand it's in LA, the Braves are away, but at the same time, man, I mean, geez, you gotta win at least a game. That's just insane. So, my overall thoughts is just: do I think, first of all, the Dodgers and Braves, there's a significant gap there? I don't. I don't think there is. I think that both these two teams are really good. I think that, again, they're the cream of the crop in the NL. I think that they are very, very good. So when looking at this, I was surprised that the Dodgers did sweep them. Now, you look at some of the stats here for the series. First of all, the Braves scored six times in 29 innings, which is not great. Not great. The Dodgers outscored them 20-6, over 14 more runs than them. Dodgers starting pitchers allowed 4 earned runs in 19 and 2/3 innings. Shohei Ohtani went 8 for 12. Teoscar Hernandez homered twice. So it was kind of just a beatdown from day one for the Dodgers. And I think it's just showing what we've all figured throughout the entire offseason now is when the Dodgers are at their peak, when they're playing like the Dodgers, when every single player on that team is playing at the top of their level, nobody can beat them. I mean, the main problem with them in the past years has been starting pitching. And I unfortunately think they've got that figured out now. I still think there are some questions in that department, mainly with the depth part and some injury risks. But, you have Tyler Glasnow, who's been pitching like a Cy Young favorite currently. You have Yoshinobu Yamamoto, who, of course, has been great and is the boy wonder, not the producer, but just boy wonder in general, just the guy that came out of nowhere and is insane. So, $300 million to a 25-year-old, I think is shows you how good of a player he is and what they think of his potential. So the Dodgers have that. They signed James Paxton, who's great. They're getting Walker Buehler back. They have Bobby Miller, Emmett Sheehan, Michael Grove, Landon Knack. there's just so many good players in this Dodgers team, this Dodgers rotation, and I think it's just, again, showing how good the Dodgers team is, how good they are on paper, and it's just incredible, honestly. So, if I'm a Dodgers fan, I'd be excited what's going on right now with them. I'd be happy. So, going to the Braves now, would I be a little worried about them after getting swept by the Dodgers? Yes and no. Yes, because you're getting swept by the Dodgers. You're getting swept by a team that is your rival, a team that is your equal, and not even winning a game is something that is a little, it's a little worrying, I'd say. But at the same time, it's very early into the season. We're not going to take these things as fact right now. We're not going to just write the Braves off for the entire season because they got swept once by the Dodgers. So if you're thinking that, I would have to disagree with you there. I do not think that is an accurate representation. But it is cause for concern if you're a Braves fan. You're now second in your division by 2 games. The Phillies, who have been killing it. I think I may have a segment tomorrow about the Phillies and just how good they have been, because I do want to talk about it. But, they're now 2 games below the Phillies, who have been killing it, who have been so good. And I think that is a little cause for concern, because you're supposed to be, the big bad Braves, the mighty Braves, the team that is never going to not win the NL East, is going to win 100 games in the regular season. But I think there's some flaws with the Braves team right now. First of all, a player I want to talk about that is not being talked about right now for some reason, that's Ronald Acuna Jr. I mean, Acuna has been bad. Like, I don't want to, overreact or, do anything like that, but just to put it bluntly, he's been bad. I mean, he only has .5 WAR this season, which, isn't great. Isn't bad, but isn't great, not what you want to see. His OPS is 738, OPS plus 112, and, well, for any other player, that's a fine season. It's Ronald Acuna Jr. This is a guy who won MVP last year, was said by a lot of people to be the best player in Major League Baseball, and he's performing like this. I think that's a big blow to the Braves. He is their leadoff man. He is the guy that sets the tone, and you expect him to have a much better season than this. And when he's not, I think that it does affect the Braves a lot, and it does hurt them a lot. So I think that's another thing we have to look out for the Braves is, their star player isn't performing as well. And after that, you look at injuries. I mean, we all know about Spencer Strider. I mean, he's hurt. He's going to be out for the entirety of the season. I'd say there's probably a less than 5% chance he comes back this season. I don't think he will, even if they make the World Series. So, you look at that, and again, it's the pitching with the Braves. The Braves pitching has been their Achilles heel these past few seasons, mainly in the playoffs. I think you look at their rotation right now, and you kind of have the same concerns. You look at Max Fried. I mean, he's a great pitcher. I'm not going to, sit here and say anything else. So he's a really great pitcher. He's obviously the positive parts of your rotation. But next you go to Reynaldo Lopez, who has been good this season, has been a really great signing by the Braves. But at the same time, is that really a guy you trust, even with how good he was in the regular season, going your Game 2 of the playoffs? You're in the NLCS, you're in the NLDS. Is that really a guy you want and getting you a must-win? I'm not sure I would. I think that the playoffs are a different beast, and I think you need a quality, established starting pitcher. So I think that is another thing to take into consideration. You have Chris Sale, who has been okay for the Braves, nothing too spectacular, just okay. Is that the guy you want starting Game 3? Is that a guy you really trust to have a significant outing, a really good outing in the year 2024? I'm just not sure about that. So I think when you take these things into consideration, I think the Braves do have some question marks, mainly in the pitching aspects, but some in the offensive aspects as well. And getting swept by the Dodgers in pretty humiliating fashion as well, it wasn't really even close, I think gives us a right to ask questions about your team, gives us the right to say, hey, what's going on over there? What's going on with you guys? Are you okay? Like, are you even good at this point? They are, But still, I think that it's something to just watch and see, and I'm interested. So definitely will be watching the Braves as the season goes on, seeing if there's any more injuries. But I think right now you just need to get some more pitching, whether that's AAA, whether that's the trade market, whatever it is. I would like to see that. I think their pitching is a big question mark. I think after that, you have to look at Acuna, hope he can do better than last year. Obviously, it's not a fluke. We've seen him do this for 5-6 years now, but having this I mean, I meant for last year, not this year, by the way. Last year being how good he was, it was definitely not a fluke. This year, it probably is a fluke. You've seen how good he is these past few years, and just having him play like this is not good for this team. It's not what you want to see, and you need him to play better. So I'm really hoping that he can, and I'm hoping the Braves can just do a little better. For the Dodgers, again, I think they are the best team in the National League. I think they're the second best team in baseball overall. I think that there isn't much debating at this point with how they just demolished the Braves. So I think right now they're second in the MLB behind the Orioles. I think, really the elite teams right now are Orioles, Yankees, Braves, Dodgers, which you all know of. You could even put the Phillies in there right now. I probably would, actually, so I'd put that as the top 5. So there's a lot of question marks about the Braves right now. Getting swept by the Dodgers doesn't answer them. But at the same time, I think you have to look at it in a different light. The Dodgers did have some of their better guys on the mound. I mean, they had Tyler Glasnow starting one of these games. They had James Paxton, who was doing really well. And again, the Braves just don't have that kind of pitching. You did have Max Fried on the mound one time, but he wasn't his usual self, going 7 innings pitched, 4 runs, not really what you want to see. And the day before for the Braves, they had on the mound Bryce Elder, who I don't think is going to make significant starts for them in the future. So he went 3 1/3 innings, giving up 7 earned runs. So I don't think that these guys are going to be as significant of players for the Braves as they were in this series. So I think that's something to take into consideration, something to watch, and just see how this Braves roster does play and does unfold as the season goes on. So I'll be watching both these teams, but I would be a little worried if I'm a Braves fan. Falling out of first place isn't something I'd take lightly. Getting swept by a team that is considered your equal, not something I'd take lightly. So, definitely watching these two teams, definitely seeing how they do perform this season. I think the Dodgers are much better than the Braves, and I think this series did prove it, but I still think the Braves are a really good team, and I think the trade deadline is going to be a big thing to watch, seeing what these two teams do acquire. So, I'll be seeing that, and we'll be watching these two teams overall in the season and just seeing how both of them do perform and seeing just overall what does happen. So, that is our second segment here, talking about the Dodgers sweeping the Braves over the weekend and just the impact it is having on the baseball world and just my overall thoughts on it. So, moving into our third segment, which is going to be talking about the Guardians and the roster shakeup they did have. They called up one of their top prospects, and they put one of their better hitters on the injured list. So, we'll just talk about that, and we'll see you after the break. So, thanks, and bye.
Looking for your daily fix of sports talk without having to pay for it? GSMC Sports Network is available on YouTube. Just search GSMC Sports Network. Get your fix of daily sports talk shows on YouTube, absolutely free. NFL, college football, NBA, MLB, MMA, UFC, fantasy football, and so much more. GSMC Sports Network has shows running all day long, with new sports shows starting every 2 hours. Just like on your favorite cable sports channel, except GSMC Sports Network is absolutely free. Just search GSMC Sports Network on YouTube to catch one of your new favorite shows, like the GSMC College Football Podcast, Chip Shot Football Podcast, Hoops and Heels Women's Sports Podcast, GSMC Basketball Podcast, and so many more. Check it out for yourself. GSMC Sports Network, now available on YouTube absolutely free. Search GSMC Sports Network on YouTube right now.
And we are back here on the GSMC Baseball Podcast, bringing you our third segment, which is going to talk about the Cleveland Guardians and their roster shakeup, quote-unquote, just making some roster moves that I did want to talk about. So, the first thing that did happen was they called up one of my guys, a guy that I have been talking a lot about on the show, even going back to my first few days on it, which is Kyle Manzardo. This is a guy I love, a guy I am really, really high on. I think is going to be a premier first baseman in this league. They finally did call him up. I was expecting him to make the opening day roster, but obviously it did not happen that way. So, I'm very excited for Manzardo. I think he should have made the opening day roster. I think he already slots in as one of the Guardians' better hitters, especially power. So I'm definitely super excited to watch him. I think that he is a really, really great player, and I don't know why he wasn't caught up in the first place, but I'm glad he's here now, and I'm glad he's here to help the Guardians team. They also did place Stephen Kwan on the injured list. They expect him to miss 4 weeks, which is not great. I'll be talking about that in the second part of the segment, but the first part I do just want to focus on Kyle Manzardo and just my overall thoughts on him. So, Manzardo is MLB Pipeline's number 52 overall prospect. In 29 games at AAA this year, he hit 303, 375, and 642. Was just obviously an amazing hitter there. Really tore it up. Obviously, did not, was obviously ready for the big leagues. Did not have any trouble there. So I don't know why he didn't make the opening day roster. At first, I still think that he is I still thought at that time he was a really great prospect, really great player, and I thought it was peculiar that the Guardians didn't put him on the final roster. So I think with Manzardo, you're getting a big lefty power bat, and a guy who's going to hit a lot of home runs, be a great overall hitter as well, though. I think that's another thing. He isn't just a home run or bust guy, which in my opinion, by the way, is fine. I know a lot of people don't like the home run or bust guys like Joey Gallo, who either home run or strike out. I think they're fine, and I don't really have a problem with them. But I get people don't like him. But Manzardo is not like that. He's a really good hitter overall as well, but does hit for a lot of power. I don't know why my mouth didn't work there, but yeah, I think that calling up Manzardo gives an immediate boost to your lineup, gives you a big lefty bat, and I think with this Guardians team that has been, as I've talked about, one of the biggest surprises of the year, being 22-12, having one of the better records in the American League, getting up one of your top hitting prospects can never hurt, and he's going to slot into that young, exciting Guardians lineup, a lineup that has been really, really good, and has been surprising a lot of people. I think that's something that is really exciting for Guardians fans and something to definitely be excited about. Not only is Manzardo up, but you also could call up Chase DeLauder soon, who is one of your other top prospects. So there's definitely a lot going right for the Guardians offense right now in young core, and I think that's been something that they've been searching for the past few years. You look at this team right now, you have Bo Naylor, you have Josh Naylor, who has been insane. I mean, he's really broken out. You have Tyler Freeman, Gabriel Arraez, Jose Ramirez, of course, Estevan Florial, who's been a very big surprise for this Guardians team. Not sure if he's going to keep it up, but is a nice story so far. And you add in all these guys, and you get in all these guys, and then you add in Manzardo, who is a 23-year-old, 6 foot, 205, has a 55 hit grade, 55 power grade, 50 fielding grade as well, so wasn't bad. Was one of the best pure hitters when he got drafted by the Rays. Obviously got traded to Cleveland for Aaron Savali at last year's deadline. And since then, I thought it was a perfect trade for the Guardians. I thought that's something they should have been doing for a long, long time, which was trading your pitching for hitting. The Guardians had so much pitching over the past few years, so much pitching depth. They had like 7 or 8 good starters on the roster at all times. And while depth is important, at some point there's just excess depth. And I think at some point you could have used your pitching depth to get more hitting depth. And I think a Manzardo for Savali trade was so perfect for them, something they should have done a lot of other times and a long time ago, and I loved it. So I've been a fan of Manzardo and his fit, especially with the Guardians, since really that trade happened. So I'm excited to see him finally come up and excited to see him get his chance here. I think he's going to bat immediately in the 3, 4, 5 spots of this lineup. I think he's going to add a ton of pop. Again, just a spark plug to this lineup. I think a lot of Guardians fans are feeling down right now. You just lost Stephen Kwan. You're having a great season, yes, but losing Kwan does hurt. I think getting back Manzardo, calling him up, I think is a huge thing and something that is pretty significant for this team. So if I was a Guardians fan, I'd be very excited and hopeful to watch him. I mean, again, I don't know why he wasn't on the opening day roster. I would have put him there. So I'm glad he got his chance now, and I'm glad he is going to get his chance to impact this Guardians team in a really great way. You look at the scouting report for Manzardo. He utilizes a simple swing at the plate, simple approach, has a great eye as well. Again, he can pull balls in the air. He hits it all over the field. his pure hitting ability along with his power is insane. I think that's just a really great duo to have. Of course, you don't have a lot of prospects now who hit pure and with power, so I think Manzardo is a little special in that way. So I think that also he's a better athlete than some people think as a first baseman. He isn't going to be someone that steals 20 bags, but can run the bases relatively well, doesn't field horrible, and I think that's something else that's positive in today's day and age when players are so much more athletic. So I'm very excited for Manzardo to get his chance with Cleveland. I think he's a really good prospect, a really good player. I think, again, he's going to add an immediate spark to this Guardians lineup. I think he's going to be in the running for Rookie of the Year either next year or this year, depending on how long he does have in the major leagues this year. So, yeah, definitely someone I'm watching. Definitely a guy I think is going to make a big impact on this Guardians team and end up being really, really good. So, yeah, did want to talk about Manzardo here, but unfortunately, every good thing comes with a bad thing in baseball. So why was Manzardo called up? Well, he was called up because one of Cleveland's better players, Stephen Kwan, went on the injured list. And he's going to be out, as I said, 4 weeks, which was just announced a few minutes before I went live for streaming. So Kwan this year has been insane, has an on-base percentage above 400, is leading the league in batting average. Again, not a big fan of batting average, but still is still a great accomplishment and still does something. So OPS of 903, OPS plus of 163. Obviously, again, such great stats. We know how good Kwan was his rookie year. Had a pretty significant step back last year. Was literally the epitome of an average baseball player, having a 99 OPS plus, having a WRC plus of 100. Showing him literally exactly average player. So he had a sophomore slump last year. You could kind of say, quote unquote, teams figured him out. They figured out, what makes him tick, what he swings at, what he doesn't, how to pitch to him, all that stuff. But he clearly did his work this offseason. He's clearly adjusted, as now he's doing great, as I said about those stats. He has a weighted runs created plus of 163, same as the OPS plus. His BABIP is a little high, which could potentially signify some regression. But at the same time, Kwan's a fast hitter. He is a contact bat, so a lot of his game is hitting balls slow, hitting balls on the ground. So I think you kind of have to take BABIP as a grain of salt, that there are some players that are just going to benefit from batting average on balls and play more. Guys like Kwan, a guy like Trey Turner, who's always going to have one because he is so fast. So I think we have to take that, again, with a little bit of a grain of salt. So how much do I think losing Kwan is going to hurt the Guardians? I think it's going to hurt them a lot. I don't want to really sugarcoat it here. I think that it's a significant loss for this team. Again, having such a great season like he was is a big deal, and it is something that is going to hurt the Guardians a lot. I think that when you look at this team, you look at just how well they've been doing with some of their breakout players like Kwan, like Josh Naylor. I think that losing one of them at this point in the season is rough, and losing Kwan, a guy who is your table setter, really helps that wherever he's batting, lead off, middle of the order, something like that, really does help this team just with the pure hitting and batting as well. So losing a player of Kwan's ability is not a positive thing, and while I do think Manzardo is going to be a really good player, I think he will easily fill in the spot for Kwan. I think that what you were hoping is Manzardo gets called up with Kwan. Have a lineup of these lefty hitters like Kwan, like Naylor, like Manzardo. I think the lefty hitting core they have right now is insane. I mean, Bo Naylor's there. Jose Ramirez, the lefty half the time. You have Estevan Florial, who's been really good. Jace DeLauder, who might come up soon, who is a lefty as well. So overall, I think that the Guardians have a really good young lefty core of hitters, and losing Kwan is a negative here, something that you don't want to see. But I think that Manzardo is going to be a really positive bat for this team, someone that brings a lot of life into this team, and is going to, again, shake this roster up, quote unquote. I think he's going to help a lot, and while you didn't really want to see the situation and scenarios that brought him to the major leagues, you understand them. You understand that they're part of baseball, and 4 weeks isn't the end of the world. I'm excited to see what Manzardo can do this season, and I'm excited to see what he does with Cleveland. I think again, the Guardians have been one of the biggest surprising teams this entire season. They've been so good. They've been so surprising. Again, I had a whole segment on the Guardians a few days ago talking about them. If you want to check that out, it's on the channel. Go ahead. But I think they're playing together as one. They have a young manager now who knows how to get this team together, who's done a really great job. And having all these young, exciting, good players on one team finally worked out, and it finally led to a hitting core being built for this Guardians team. And I'm excited to watch them going through in the season. Do I think they're going to stay at this record and win the Central? No, I don't. I still think it's the Twins division to lose. They've been so good. They won 12 in a row. Obviously, significant achievements. So definitely watching them and watching both the Guardians and the Twins, just seeing what is going to happen with these two teams and seeing who does win the Central. I think it'll be the Twins. I think the Guardians will still make the playoffs. I think they are at this point one of the top 5 best teams in the American League with how they have done. So I think that's something significant to watch here and something interesting to see. But so I think they're as good as they are right now. No, but I think they're going to get better. I don't not get better. I think they are going to still be a really good team, get better in the future. And having Manzardo up and once Kwan is back healthy, I think this lineup is going to be scary. I'm watching the pitching and the overall depth. They have had some injuries, but they still have a lot of good young pitchers there. So I'll be watching all that. I'll be watching the Guardians in general, and just see what does happen with this team, and just what's going to happen here. So so that was our third segment talking about the Cleveland Guardians and their roster shakeup. Going to the fourth one, which is going to be talking about some injury news around the league, just some news stories that I did want to talk about, mostly injury related. We'll be going over those, and we'll see you after our break, third and final one. Thanks. See you after that. Thanks, and bye.
For the best and latest podcasts available anywhere, go to the podcast app on your cell phone and type in GSMC to access free content-rich podcasts on health and wellness, book reviews, sports, entertainment, relationships, social media, movies, technology, finance, and even weird news. Subscribe and download the GSMC Podcast Network's family of shows, available everywhere podcasts are found.
And we're back here on the GSMC Baseball Podcast, bringing you our fourth and final segment, which is going to be talking about some injury news around the league and just some injury stuff I did want to talk about. There were, being that today is Monday and that our last show came on Friday, there were a lot of injury stuff we missed Friday night, Saturday, Sunday, you know all the drills. So I just did want to recap some of the things we did miss and just the impacts on their team, how serious I think it is, and we'll be going over it. So the first one is going to be about the Padres. Joe Musgrove is going on the injured list with right elbow inflammation. More specifically, he has triceps tendonitis. So it's looking like that he was mainly placed in the IL for cautionary purposes. It is more precautionary of a situation that he is injured and needs to go in the IL. It's more if we saw something, we cut it early. We think we're going to do a good job rehabbing with it. So we're going to put him on the IL for now, just shut him down. Hopefully he can heal better, and it'll turn into something minor before it turns into something major. So I think a good job by the Guardians there the Padres to figure out what was wrong with Musgrove there, be precautious with him, and put him on the injured list. This is the second pretty big starter for the Padres being put on the injured list recently. You had Darvish before with neck tightness. So that was something. I also did just see that Dylan Cease is talking to reporters at 3:50 Central Time, which is going to be interesting. I don't know why he's doing that, but it could be another injury, I guess. I'm really not sure, but we'll have to see. But impact on the Padres here, not really that much. You look at Joe Musgrove this year. You see what his stats have been like. You see how he's been. He hasn't been that good. He really has not been the guy you've wanted. His stats have not been great. And I think having him in the IL isn't the worst thing in the world. He gets a little time to lay back, sit back, watch people pitch, see what maybe he's doing wrong. And it's just been a rough season for him. Injury plagued the last few also have been, but this year just struggling overall with just his stats and execution. So I think him going on the IL isn't the worst thing in the world. Gives him a step back, and maybe this is what was bothering him, why he was doing so poor. Again, right elbow inflammation, as we've seen throughout this year with all the pitching injuries we've had. Elbows and arms, pitching arms are not something to joke around with at all. If anything, and I mean anything, flares up in that arm, you're going on the IL. They're not taking a risk. They're not getting another Tommy John. I mean, just Tommy John has come for everyone this year. It's just been insane. So I think teams are knowing nowadays, we see anything with that arm, anything at all, you're done. You're on the IL. That's it. No more questions. You're done. You're on the IL for as long as time as you need. So I think teams just desperately want to make sure that people don't get Tommy John, don't have a significant injury, and I think that's what the Padres are doing. They're putting him on the IL before it gets serious, as a precautionary aspect here. So I think that's really what this is, and I guess good for the Padres for being overcautious with him. And I think just it's good for Musgrove overall that he is going to get to be able to sit back, just watch baseball, see what he's doing wrong, and see just kind of not how to pitch again, quote unquote, but just to see what to do, watch his colleagues, and just sit on the sidelines. So Wyatt Langford for the Texas Rangers is out 3 to 4 weeks with a hamstring strain. So usually I would be very sad because as you guys know, I have championed Wyatt Langford all this year. I think he's a great player. He's going to be a significant contributor to this Rangers team for years to come. They called him up at the start of the season to be the starting DH. I think that was a great decision. He hasn't been that great. Yes, I know. I've been watching. But I still think he's a great player, and I still think that he adds a lot to this Rangers team, and he has a lot of potential. So him being out 3 to 4 weeks, though, isn't a significant thing for the Rangers. It's kind of like the Padres, where he hasn't been doing that well. So I think you're not totally mad with him getting 3 to 4 weeks now to sit out. Just watch the game from a new angle, maybe have an epiphany of what he's doing wrong. It could all should just be, okay, this guy just got out of college. He's a rookie. He's just overwhelmed by MLB pitching so far. And, hopefully he'll be better in the future just when he's more used to it. So that could just be another thing with it. But I think him being out 3 to 4 weeks isn't that big of a deal. I think, again, when you look at how he's done this season, how much he has been underperforming, it is something that is like, okay, we're not that mad. We can sit on the sidelines 3 to 4 weeks, just watch everyone play, and hopefully something can happen. So with his little mindset and just overall what's going to happen with him. So unfortunate break, though, for the Rangers. Again, I think he's a really good player, and I think they would have liked to keep him in the lineup, but they have a lot of depth, mainly Ezekiel Duran, who I think is going to be the guy that fills in for Wyatt Langford here, probably playing all around the diamond to get some people days at DH and kind of get them off their feet, just swinging some days. So I think that's a good thing for the Rangers. But again, Langford has been underperforming, but he's still a rookie. I still believe in him. He gets 3 to 4 weeks now to just watch baseball, have a reference point of maybe I'm doing this wrong, maybe I'm doing that wrong. We'll have to see. So that's going to be something interesting to watch. And yeah, just excited to see what happens after his injury and if he can come back doing really, really well. I think he can, but we'll have to see. Evan Phillips for the Dodgers has a hamstring strain, and we're not exactly sure how long he's going to be out. Phillips, of course, is the star closer for the Dodgers. One of these guys the Dodgers picked up off waivers, turned him into a great player, and now is their closer, of course. I mean, that's what good organizations do. That's what the Dodgers did, and no surprise that they did it. Interestingly, though, they did pick him up off waivers a few years ago from the Rays, who are also known, like the Dodgers, to be a team that is analytical heavy, like most teams nowadays, but more than usual, and knows how to develop these kind of players. So it's interesting that the Rays can fix him, but the Dodgers did. But yeah, he's been a really great closer for them since coming over. Turned into a high leverage reliever to a closer, and has been really, really good. So losing him for the Dodgers, of course, isn't great. Not exactly the break you want to see here, and not exactly what you want to what you want to see if you're a Dodgers fan. But the Dodgers have so much pitching depth. I mean, they got back Blake Treinen in the transaction that they put Evan Phillips on the injured list with. You have other guys like Brusdar Graterol, who I love. I think is a really great pitcher. I think he'd be doing a lot better than he is right now, but I still think he's a really good player and overall has a lot to give this team. And his fastball is really, really good, a really great pitch. So I think that could be potentially a guy that fills in. Treinen's going to be interesting. He hasn't pitched in a little while for the Dodgers. I think it's been over a season, so that's going to be something interesting to see, how Treinen does come back from his injury and if he is a significant piece in this Dodgers bullpen now with Phillips out. That'll be something really fun to watch. I mean, 2022 had 5 outings for the Dodgers, had none last year, and just got his first outing back with the Dodgers here. 1 inning pitched, so obviously has pitched 6 innings over 3 years, so obviously has been out for a long, long time. So it's going to be interesting to see where he does factor in the Dodgers bullpen and what role he does play here. That'll be something to watch. Trey Turner, we're going to the Phillies now. One more, sorry. That was kind of a weird little transition to the last part of this here. But Trey Turner, he is out for 6 weeks with a hamstring strain, which is a big blow to this Phillies team. When you look at this Phillies team, you see how good they've been. You see how well they've done. They just overtook first place from the Braves. They've done really, really well. So I think that with them right now, that Turner has been one of the biggest landmarks of this season for them, and one of the biggest guys that has done really well for them and kind of ushered in this great Phillies team of this year, the one that is first place in the National League East above the Braves. Turner's done really, really well. Had a rough season last year, but since the Phillies fans gave him that big standing ovation, I mean, he's been really, really good. So props to them. I mean, he has 1.6 WAR in 137 at bats, OPS of 852, 145. He's also stealing a lot of bases. Has 10 already, only 1 caught stealing. So classic Trey Turner. So he brings a lot of value not only in the batter's box but in the field as well, playing defense, running the bases. So losing Turner with how well he's done this season, with how well the Phillies have done, I'd say is a big blow. But the Phillies do have a lot of depth. I think Edmundo Sosa is probably going to slot in there to be the Phillies opening day to be the Phillies everyday shortstop. I think he's a fine guy to slot in there and make as a starter for the time being. So 6 weeks is a significant amount of time. Unfortunate for the Phillies that he is out that long, but I think when you're as active on the base pass and as active of a player as Trey Turner is, you're going to get hurt at some point, and it is going to just happen at some point. So again, unfortunate, but it is what it is, and just how it works. So those are the injury news and updates I want to go over for this weekend, and just the stuff they didn't get a chance to talk about. Joe Musgrove with right elbow inflammation, Wyatt Langford out 3 to 4 weeks, Evan Phillips with a hamstring strain, and Trey Turner out for 6 weeks with a hamstring strain as well. So it's all those guys, significant players on their teams. They play significant parts in their teams for how well they've been doing as well. I mean, all 4 of these teams are really great. So we're watching their teams and seeing how they do recover from this, but it's not positive. All, of course, getting the injuries, but some do have some silver linings, like a Joe Musgrove, maybe even like a Wyatt Langford. So, but we'll be watching the updates on these guys, but I did just want to talk about them and talk about what's going on with them. So that is the end of our show today, guys. I want to thank you so much for watching. Remember to like, subscribe, hit the notification bell to not only get notified when I upload, but also when all the other great content creators on this channel upload. We invite you to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, Instagram for more content and updates. Thank you so much for watching again. Have a great day. We'll see what baseball throws at us tomorrow, and we'll see you later. Bye, guys. Thanks.
Let's go. I wake up to a little bit of drool on my pillow, feel like it's gonna be a bad day. Yeah, I'm tired of shit, and the coffee ain't hit yet. Damn, ain't that